So will Chrome be able to break out in time to avoid the traps? Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with episode 6 of Dr. Stone Stone Wars. We're about halfway through this season, and we're preparing to really hit the front lines. We're just out of them, just barely out of the Empire. But the tank we built, while a great idea, was unfortunately predicted by Tsukasa. And so, in front of the cell that Chrome is being held in, there's a bunch of traps, and that would be bad. Unless Senku planned around his plan that he was planning around his plan. And then maybe Senku has a plan for that. But as of now, Chrome is now trying to escape his prison in order to, save them instead. Which would be a fun turn. But doing so would absolutely alert the Tsukasa Empire and would 1 billion% start this war. So I guess we're just going to have to see how this clicks into place and exactly what occurs here. I have faith that we will pull this off without shedding blood as planned. And while things may not go exactly according to plan, I do think that the Kingdom of Science will unequivocally win. The question is, what is Ukio planning? We're still wondering that. He's clearly scheming, and whatever his scheme may be, it's definitely against Tsukasa. We kind of got that before when he lied to him. And I feel like if he was fully loyal to Tsukasa still, there'd be no reason to lie to him. Now, we haven't checked in with Taiju Yuzuriha and Nikki for a bit, so we don't know what they're up to at the moment. But we're just going to have to see how it goes down. This could be really the turning point of this season to really kick things off into overdrive. So, let us get this going and see what this episode has in store for us. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So I know I've said this plenty of times before, but I'm going to keep reiterating it every now and again. When I first started this series, I didn't really expect too much from it. I didn't think it was going to be that much. I didn't think it would be super interesting or anything special. I thought, okay, maybe it'll be nice and fairly good, but nothing exceptional. Nothing that really stands out. And instead, it's a series that I've ended up growing to absolutely adore. And, I've rewatched season 1 a couple times, and now watching season 2, it's more obvious than ever just how damn good this is. Not only just because of the real science used, but the character work, the storytelling, the way that things connect. this is a shonen series, but it's not like a lot of other shonen series. Not only just because it's not battle shonen, but it feels very different in its general presentation. It feels a lot more connected and strongly thought out. And I know for a series about science that kind of makes sense. It's like, oh, the series about science is going to be well thought out. Um, but it's like you see a series like even like One Piece, which, as I've stated in the past, is my favorite piece of media of all time. You watch One Piece and it's like, oh, it's very clear that Oda didn't have everything planned out from the start. Certain things very clearly kind of not necessarily come out of nowhere, but are just kind of introduced suddenly and are made into a part of the world, and Oda obviously makes it work exceptionally well, but it's very clear that they weren't the plan from the beginning. The Yonko, the Four Emperors, going to that reference that was made in this episode, are a great example of that. Because originally it was supposed to just be the Seven Warlords. But then Oda changed to have the Yonko introduced. It was also clear that the supernovas, the worst generation, weren't originally supposed to be a thing either. So, and you see this in a lot of shonen anime, even not just the big three, but a lot of these anime where it's like, oh, clearly things are kind of being made up as it goes along, and that's fine. But with this series, it feels like everything is, pun intended, set in stone right from the beginning. It feels like this entire series has been meticulously planned out. And for a series that is about science, like I said, that's just kind of fitting. It feels like everything is like so like particular. And mind you, yes, a lot of science is about experimentation and, doing things wrong at first, but then like learning from that and getting it right later. Senku has said as much. That's part of the scientific method and all. But at the same time, meticulous planning and preparation is also part of science. Both can be accurate. And we do see both in this series. I just really love that this series has that vibe to it, though, because it makes it feel, again, very different. It makes it feel unique, but the character work is on par with some of the greater shonen series out there, like One Piece. Like, the character work in this is phenomenal. These characters have so much depth and personality to them. Whether you like them or you hate them, some of them you can even, like, understand even if you don't agree with their methods and all, like Tsukasa. But that amount of depth allows this series to really come alive. And the connected storytelling, everything working together and coming back into play, you see a lot of stuff in this that you wouldn't necessarily think would come back. You see a lot of like experiments that keep making reoccurring appearances. Certain chemicals and whatnot. And then you even find out, like in this one, like, oh, the chemical that he made wasn't exactly what he thought it was going to be. Because there was a step he was missing. But it ended up making a completely different chemical. And it's like, that's just really fucking clever. And you can tell that the original creator of this, the mangaka who made this series, like, didn't just do all this research necessarily. Like, you can tell that the mangaka actually is passionate about science. That this is, yeah, some things were probably researched, but you can tell that the creator wanted this to be about science because it was a passion. It was something that they cared about and wanted to show to the audience, to the younger generations who would be watching this throughout the years, and even to the older generations who would watch it. It's something that the creator clearly wanted to share with people, and do so in a fun, kind of goofy way. Because let's be honest, a lot of this is super goofy. Senku's expressions and conniving personality was super goofy. But it teaches real science, and whether or not kids should actually, mimic some of it or not, it still gets it still gets them interested, and that'll allow them to like grow and discover and be able to help people in the world, because science helps the world. And so like this is just like so wonderfully done. Sorry for like ranting just about how much I love this series for so long, but this was just this episode just really hit that in a very specific spot for me. But let's talk about the actual episode itself. So in this episode, we meet another one of the generals, I guess you could call them, of the Tsukasa Empire, or as Yo himself puts it, one of the four emperors. Still can't believe that was a reference in this. But Yo is a former police officer, a martial arts prodigy, and was known for being excessively brutal. He was a violent police brutalist who basically took the law into his own hands. He didn't bother waiting for the justice system to come into play. If he got the opportunity, he would use deadly force whenever the chance arose. And he had no problem killing people that he deemed as guilty. And I still say everything about him feels very antithetical to Tsukasa. Because Tsukasa, as we've made clear, is a good person who is doing bad things for what he perceives as the greater good. He is a genuinely good person who just wants the world to be safe. He perceives the greedy, selfish adults in control, the ones who always had the power back in the day, to be an active threat. And now that the world has been able to be reformed in a sense, he feels it's a duty to make sure that the generations growing now will be able to live in peace. And so the idea of bringing back like the older generations who have lived in that kind of situation and would probably try to gain power again is absurd to him. He hates the very concept. And yeah, a lot of it is built from trauma, but it's also because he genuinely believes that it's an act of danger to do so. The problem is that Yo kind of represents that oppressive system that Tsukasa hates. Not only by being a cop, but by being, not really corrupt exactly, but a brutalist cop. By being someone who's so actively aggressive and takes the law into his own hands, he, in a way, is circumventing the law for his own desires. That is something that Tsukasa absolutely would not agree with. So I have to feel like Tsukasa probably didn't know who he was prior to releasing him. And after he did, I feel like the only reason he didn't kill him, because we know Tsukasa's willing to kill, if necessary, is because Yo agreed to be subservient to him and work under him and follow his rules, and because Yo could be useful for the upcoming war against the Kingdom of Science that Tsukasa had been very much knowing would be coming. And again, that's probably why he brought back all the muscle heads that are currently in the Tsukasa Empire, because a lot of them are definitely not the kind of people he would typically bring back, I would think, either. Like Ukiyo, yes, sure. Understand fully why he would bring back someone like Ukiyo. Same with Nikki. Same with Hyoga. They are absolutely the kind of people he would bring back. But Yo is very out of place. And I'm very curious if we're going to find more out about, like, when Tsukasa brought him back. Because we found that out about Hyoga and Gen. And I don't think we found that out about Nikki. And I don't think we found out quite out about Ukyo yet. So it's like, it's kind of a maybe we will, maybe we won't. I almost feel like we have to, though. Especially with Chrome having now escaped from the prison that was under his guard. We've got to see that him have a like meet up with Tsukasa to address that. I'm very curious. There's also the reporter lady who's like gushing like crazy over him, by the way. She was shown before, right? I believe we saw her before. In season 1. I don't know if she's gonna be like a big character, probably not, but we now see that she kind of has a loyalty almost to Yo, like Homura has to Hyoga. I mean, I don't think it's quite the same kind of relationship, but still. Um, I can see Yo possibly being useful to the Kingdom of Science, like I said in the reaction, probably as security once once the Tsukasa Empire is inevitably defeated and melds into the Kingdom of Science. But at the same time, I feel like I feel like Senku would see him as an active threat too. I wonder if they're gonna have to build a prison of their own and have to like imprison some people like him in it. That would be pretty wild. But most of this episode obviously focused on Chrome and his attempts to escape. And we saw somebody helped him by bringing him the battery. But we did not see who it was. He was thinking it was Taiju and or Yuzuriha. I do not believe that. I think that there's only two people it could have possibly been. Either Nikki, because it made a point of showing how she's like turned over to our side. I don't think Taiju would have thought of that, or Yuzuriha. I don't think either of them would have thought to bring that to him. I think it could be Nikki, though. I think she would have better access anyway to get the battery from wherever they stored it, since she's a guard as it is. Or, I think it could be Ukyo, because we already know Ukyo lied to Tsukasa. And so it's very possible that he's already, like, made the decision to betray Tsukasa and gave that to Chrome as a way of helping him get out. I think that's very possible. In fact, I'm thinking Ukyo is probably even more likely than Nikki. Because they're definitely trying to, like, make it a surprise that he's going to turn over, while we already know Nikki has. The question is, why is he going to turn over? Like, what is his reasoning, his goals? We don't know too much about him yet. We know he was a radar technician. He's fairly young. I don't remember. Did it say much else about him? He has exceptional hearing. We know that. But I think that's about it. Unless I'm just forgetting something. So it's like we definitely don't know his motivations though. And so it's going to be interesting to find out more about that. But yeah, he's the one who I think did it. But now that Chrome is back as well, they don't have to, rush into what is clearly a trap. Unfortunately, Tsukasa's obviously going to hear about this. So they're going to be adjusting their plans as well. I feel like that's also going to maybe clue Tsukasa in that the Kingdom of Science are on their doorstep. It just feels like an obvious idea to come to, because someone had to have helped him out. And on top of that, why would he break out at that point? Tsukasa, again, is very smart. He's going to be able to think things through, and he's going to be able to realize that Chrome must have had suddenly a reason to need to break out. And he could maybe think, oh, because of the traps and everything, but that would confirm that they have the tank that Tsukasa already believed they did, which would also confirm that they're probably either on their way or already set up to attack. Because Chrome then escaping would imply that he's going to go warn them not to come and try to drive the tank into the traps. So yeah, a lot of 3D chess, you could say, being played here. It's going to be very interesting to see how this goes, because we're entering definitely the end game of this war, of this season. And so I guess at this point we just have to wait and see. We just have to find out by watching. So tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this episode of Dr. Stone's Stone Wars? And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.